Hey everyone, Shnickerman here, back with another video. Before I begin this video essay, I want to just make sure that I state that this is my opinion. I've looked a lot into this topic, but we still don't know 100%. I encourage you all to watch the information that I'm presenting and make your own judgment on what you think actually happened. There's a small indie development company that goes by DP'd, who had previously released and developed a few different games such as Lunch Truck Tycoon and Auto Dealership Tycoon, as well as other games for PC. This company, DP'd, teamed up with a brand new publisher to release a physical edition of their newest indie title, Poop Slinger. The publisher was called Limited Rare Games, and they had never published any physical games prior to Poop Slinger, or really published any games at all. There's basically no information on who Limited Rare are, and how big the company is, where they operate out of. There's essentially just no information. So now, where did Limited Rare come from? DP'd.net first tweeted about this physical copy of Poop Slinger and posted, "Get your ultra rare physical copy of Poop Slinger while supplies last," and then listed the URL for the Limited Rare website. Now, physical editions of previously digital games is not a new concept. Limited Run Games have been publishing physical editions of digital games since 2015 or so, and to date, they've released thousands of games by this point. By the time we reached 2019, there were many other companies that released physical video games for different video game consoles. I'm going to list all the different physical game publishers that I was able to find. Limited Run Games, Super Rare Games, Special Reserve Games, Strictly Limited Games, Signature Edition Games, Forever Limited Games, Red Art Games, East Asia Soft, Premium Edition Games, V Blank Entertainment, B-Side Games, Hard Copy Games, Funbox Media, Nicalis, One Print Games, Physicality Games, I Am 8-Bit, and Fangamer. And yes, those are all real companies that use similar business models for releasing physical editions of video games. Poop Slinger was a game that was destined to fail, and by fail I mean it was destined to not sell very many copies, considering the date that it was released for sale, the name of the game, and the fact that the publisher was completely unknown at this point. And the publisher had a name that was basically a mashup of two different popular physical game publishers, being Super Rare Games and Limited Run Games. Despite DP'd stating, while supplies last, and the game only costing $33.99, Poop Slinger only sold supposedly 84 copies. So why would anyone really want to buy this game from an unknown publisher? The website for Poop Slinger was sketchy, to say the least. Thanks to the power of the internet, we can look back at the original Limited Rare website at the time of April Fool's Day 2019. There were a few things that caught customers' attention and prevented some people from ordering the game. For one, the website looked very amateurish, especially the logo, which had kind of a Microsoft Paint or pixelated style, had default fonts, minimal web design. There was a generic buy now icon similar to like a PayPal pay button. There was Russian text that if you translate, it says, "We reserve the right to store and maintain your personal information." This is one piece that definitely caught a lot of people off guard and prevented them from buying it. And the last factor, which is actually kind of funny, is that the price of the game, the longer into the sale, started increasing in price from around $30 up to $50, and Limited Rare Games claimed that they weren't selling enough copies of the game, so they had to increase the price in order to make their margin, which is, I think, is kind of funny. But what other game developer do you see a increasing price over time? Since only 84 copies were supposedly sold of the game, less than 84 people, because I think some people purchased more than one, who visited the site were actually brave enough to purchase the game, and essentially this game became one of the rarest PS4 games just because the sheer amount of copies that were successfully sold. And at the time that Limited Rare Games came into existence and Poop Slinger was sold, many YouTubers and various gaming sites reported the controversy and kind of just made fun of it in general, and I can't say I really blame them for that. But the thing about Limited Rare Games is A lot of people think that the joke kind of ended there, but it didn't. This was only the beginning of limited rare games. Many video game collectors started to get upset as people started receiving Poop Slinger because it was in fact real, and they were upset that they didn't get a chance to get a super rare game to add to their collection, or sell on eBay, frankly. Limited Rare Games had a Twitter account that they posted the sale of the game, and they started retweeting people as they received the game, and also just generally joking around with their followers. It was relatively tame. On May 23rd, 2019, they replied and said, "We have no money and have to ship between our real job at Walmart. Takes time to ship," as somebody was asking where their copy of the game was. But despite all the hate coming from the game collecting community and the sketchy website, copies of Poop Slinger were delivered in a timely manner by Limited Rare. Many game collectors speculated that Limited Rare Games was a one-time publisher spin-off of Limited Run Games to play a funny joke on their fans. Limited Run Doug tweeted about getting his copy of the game and how he thought the website was a scam, but he still ordered the game. It's speculated that he was either involved in the production of the game or likes to take risks for his video game collection, or maybe neither. But suffice to say, Limited Run Games did get a lot of hate from angry collectors who lost the chance to get this rare title. And I think the majority of people just assumed that Limited Rare Games was Limited Run Games. On July 1st, 2019, DP'd decided to do a giveaway for a copy of Poop Slinger. So the thing about making physical PS4 editions is that Sony does not allow you to order a very small amount of games. I think the minimum order confirmed by different parties is that you need to order at least 1,000 copies of your game. And on the Limited Rare website, it said that they only had 820 copies of Poop Slinger. So even though they sold 84, the rest of those copies were already ordered in a factory or a warehouse somewhere. So on July 1st, 2019, DP'd decided to do a giveaway for a physical copy of Poop Slinger. The competition lasted 21 days. And it was a giveaway through the website Gleam, which likely had to do with engaging DP'd's social media following for following, sharing, retweeting, etc., which is pretty normal, especially for 2019. The winners of the giveaway filmed them opening the package from DP'd, and it was pretty funny. It contained a few different gag gifs, all poop themed, and buried underneath all of that crap was the Poop Slinger PS4 game. And this is all documented. So this is basically showing that somebody did indeed receive a copy of this game after the orders were already successfully fulfilled. There was also a second giveaway of Poop Slinger on PS4 that ended on Christmas Day, but there was actually never any proof of the game getting to the winner. There wasn't a video like the first giveaway. On January 28th, 2020, DP'd posted an update on their game pipeline, which claimed that Poop Slinger 2 was postponed and was supposed to be an open-world third-person shooter. I'll let you be the judge if that statement is real or not, but I just thought it was kind of funny, maybe because all the publicity for Poop Slinger made the developer either decide to think about working on Poop Slinger 2 or just jokingly mention it to be funny and get some additional clicks. Not really sure. After the game pipeline update, the Limited Rare Twitter account goes silent, and DP'd's account as well, minus a few excrement-related product posts, doesn't post for a while. However, the story doesn't even end there. April Fool's Day 2020, Limited Rare's website magically reappears. The website comes back, and I think most people just kind of forgot about Limited Rare at that point, but it seems like the domain for the original website was abandoned. The website claimed to be owned by a third party.
I was browsing social media on April 1st, 2019, and I saw a post talking about a new limited release company that popped up called Limited Rare Games, with their first release being Poop Slinger. I followed the game's release very closely, between the few Reddit posts, and at Limited Rare Game posts and comments on Twitter. I was reading through the many discussions about whether or not the release was real, and telling my friends about the release, who all thought it was a funny prank someone was pulling. I was very surprised to find it was real, and even more surprised to see the prices it was selling for on eBay. After the release, I kept occasionally checking the website to see if anything would ever happen to it. One day I happened to check. The domain was up for auction because it hadn't been renewed. I put down a bid and ended up winning it. I thought about different things I could do with the domain and ended up deciding on an unofficial site about the history of Limited Rare Games. I hope you enjoy.
The new site had multiple ways to access buying the website domain from the current owner and mocks the original website design. The author provides some information that the price of the game did change during the sale day, which I think was previously unknown by the majority of people because most people didn't order the game. Another weird thing that the website has is it lists the current eBay price of Poop Slinger and contains links to popular YouTube videos featuring the game, which is kind of interesting because it's kind of trying to increase the notoriety of Poop Slinger even more, which I guess would assume that the person that bought the domain has a copy of it. So it's kind of trying to hype the game even more, but also document the history of this interesting phenomenon. If you dig a little bit deeper into the new website, you can go to a tab that is titled About the Author. So you open up About the Author. It says, "Hello, I am Landon Sanders, publisher, author of 3 children's books, and a large video game fan and collector with close to 500 games. You can check out my books below." So according to this, the author is a video game fan and also an author, and they were interested in creating a record of Poop Slinger. And they also decided, just like trying to sell the domain to somebody, they also wanted to sell their books that they made. So the 3 books are Ducky Goosey and 3 of his adventures: when he's fixing his roof, when he fixes his sled, and when he changes his tire. So kind of at first glance, when you see this website at this point, I think a lot of people assumed, again, this was Limited Rare Games trying to play some jokes, but I do genuinely feel like this person is a collector and just wanted to, create a scene for the fans of Limited Rare Games. All 3 of these books are actually on Amazon for purchase. I purchased one. It does exist, and they're kind of wholesome, and they actually were made by the author and his son, who I think did the art. And you can verify this through different Twitter accounts and stuff like that. They were genuine in making these books. It's not like the books were a cash grab or anything like that, but they were trying to, I think, sell it a few different extra copies. But I want to just mention here that the new author of this website was really passionate about video games and just wanted to document this whole interesting concept. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do with this video. So I hope this person doesn't still get hate from putting this up here and kind of publicizing themselves, because I think that it was kind of a cool idea. So now Limited Rare's website would stay featuring Landon Sanders for a little bit longer, but then suddenly there was a new Limited Rare Games Twitter account that started tweeting, and people started liking it in the game collecting community and trying to kind of figure out who it was, and also just share it around with their friends who might be interested. Because of the success of Poop Slinger, a lot of people were interested in trying to get their next release because they assume that, which is not necessarily true. So the new Twitter handle was at ltdraregames. So basically the abbreviation of Limited Rare Games. They posted on May 11th, 2020 that Ivan is in charge of the website, apparently. The first few months of being online, the Twitter account is kind of all over the place, talking about employees being fired and a new Limited Rare logo. On October 7th, the original Limited Rare Games Twitter account comes back online and says, "We have the account back." On October 31st, 2020, something happened. A brand new game was placed for order on the Limited Rare website. The tweet was later removed, but you can still see the account if you find some images on the internet. It says, "You buy our Halloween game now," with 3 ghost emojis. "Pre-order now, and we will send the game when finished." Similar to the Poop Slinger release, the same URL featured a bare bones layout with just 1 game for sale. Unlike Poop Slinger, though, there's not a number that gets thrown out about how many copies of this game were actually sold. It wasn't as hyped as the original Poop Slinger release and as well publicized. I can confirm, though, that when I ordered my copy of the game, the invoice order number that I had was numbered 503, so I do speculate that there were at least 500 copies of the game, and it could be more because I think that there was the ability to order more than 1 copy, but I could be wrong on that. The game retailed for $29.99. People on Twitter contacted the developer of Tamashii, Viking Tor, who was completely clueless about the physical version of his own game. Later, he contacted the publisher and did confirm that Limited Rare Games was real, but it is kind of interesting that the original developer of the game had no idea that a physical copy would be released. But I think that's more of a conversation about publishers and developer relationships rather than a company doing something without the go-ahead of the original creator. On November 17th, 2020, it was a really strange day in the history of Limited Rare Games lore. First, Limited Rare posted a web countdown link on their Twitter account that ended April 1st, 2021. Limited Rare also tweeted that the FBI tried to shut them down, but the man can't keep them down. Now, this might be referring to some problems with PayPal dealing to Tamashii sales, but I still think that this is just complete propaganda that Limited Rare Games is trying to use to kind of generate hype and have people think that this is going to be more exclusive of a video game release. And last but not least, on the 17th, they posted this video featuring a man named Elmer who vouches for limited rare games and makes a few different jabs at other physical game publishers.
Hi, my name is Elmer, and I want to talk to you today about a very special company. Yeah, that's right, Limited Rare Games. A good company, an ethical, wholesome company. This is American as warm apple pie and maple syrup. Our strictly limited runs of super rare games, just like a great cup of coffee. You shouldn't have too many. So sit back, relax, and buckle up for the ride at limitraregames.com.
I do have to say that this video was actually kind of funny to watch. I like the character of Elmer, but it's interesting to know who this person is. Did they pay this person to make this video? Nobody really knows. Limited Rare basically started a giveaway for a copy of Tamashii, which had a cheeky comment about their fans. And on November 18th, Limited Rare appears to be annoyed by an angry mob of video game collectors complaining about games that they don't want. Limited Rare Games published Limited Game Publisher Simulator. Enrage collectors by starting a company. Publish a game and receive vile abuse from people that will buy 2 copies. Amaze as people lose their shit over a game they never wanted in the first place. Limited Game Publisher Simulator coming soon. On December 6th, the Twitter account puts out this flashy, epic trailer that announces
enormous, instantaneous.
How does Limited Rare maintain the attention of crazy game collectors? Well, they offer to send crap to fans. Oh, and they created some cool merch, I guess. Limited Rare starts teasing April 1st as it gets closer to the day. On March 28th, they post the same trailer as before, saying something will come on April Fool's Day. The day is almost here, and time keeps getting added to the countdown. People were really confused and upset because they were waiting late at night to hope to get the new game drop. It turns out that the Countdown website can be edited by anyone at any time. Check out the link now and you'll see I made it listed as April 1st, 2023 and made it link to this YouTube video URL. Now, apparently, Boris, one of the 2 characters from Limited Rare Games, is working on a super secret project. Hype intensifies, and according to their Twitter profile, they get hacked, and the other member of Limited Rare, Ivan, fixes the website, and it's finally here. And the listing comes out, and it's a t-shirt? Yeah, people were mad about this one, but I mean, come on, would you expect less from such a satirical company? The shirt reads, I waited 5 months and all I got was this lousy t-shirt. ltdraregames.com. On April 13th, Limited Rare Games teased 2 covers for Tamashii, meaning that they had the games in hand. And on May 10th, collectors started to get the game. For such an unprofessional company, they actually deliver the games that they promise. The interesting thing is only the first cover of the game was ever actually seen and received by customers, and the second appears to be some kind of sample cover. What's always been strange to me is that although Tamashii seems to have sold more copies than Poop Slinger, no one really talks about it nearly as much as Poop Slinger. I think the initial hype of Limited Rare was overshadowed and people didn't actually realize that the company was continuing on. Limited Rare Games took a jab at another indie developer who is now a Limited Run Games employee. The member was Joe. They basically made fun of Revenge of the Bird King, which Joe independently released, and how people cared more about Tamashii than that game. As we dive deeper into the story of Limited Rare, we must reach the truth. Limited Rare posted a link for their newest book, which is called The Truth. This book claims to expose Limited Rare Games and the limited edition game market as a whole. I bought it as a copy for all you curious people out there, but essentially it's a fiction novel based off of the two characters, Ivan and Boris, as they create their own limited game company and destroy the competition, essentially. And Limited Rare actually offered prizes for people who left good Amazon reviews for their book. Seems like a conflict of interest, but that doesn't stop Ivan and Boris. Is anyone seeing a pattern here? There was a lot of posts on Twitter related to the release of the book, trying to get more Amazon sales and engagement from the collecting community. In August 2021, Limited Rare got back to what people wanted: surprise limited print run game sales. August 19th, 2021 featured a new game on the website, Demon Pit, or DP for short. There was a Twitter post that actually had a picture of the Demon Pit game, which appears to have already been printed or at least sampled. People were pretty curious about this release, and they were expecting that maybe it would come a little bit faster than Tamashii, which actually had to be produced. Demon Pit comes with a mystery, super secret mystery surprise. Pre-order limited to 2 customers, one for you, one for eBat, meaning eBay. LimitedRareGames.com. If you like mysterious mysteries and want to be part of video game history, then you must buy this game now. According to my sale of the game, there were at least 1,503 copies, but likely way more because you could buy up to 2 copies. Nobody really knows if it was a joke or not, but essentially when you went to go buy the game, some people were getting charged like $100 to $200 for shipping, but eventually that was resolved. So I think it might have actually just been a glitch, but people speculate that this was Limited Rare trying to be a little bit cheeky to take advantage of the fans, but that's all conspiracy. People bought the game and it sold out, just like Poop Slinger did. Did you all get a DP? We enjoy giving DP. We cannot wait to tell you the mystery surprise, but you wait. The months go by and there's no updates on DP. In December, people have started charging back on PayPal, but Limited Rare didn't let the haters get them down. They made a few different posts about people charging back on PayPal, which I guess is the one downside of the way that they were doing the sales. 2021 turned into 2022, and no one really had any updates to get the game DP. But alas, in February, Limited Rare graces us with another Twitter post about another t-shirt that states, honestly, I don't understand how someone in the know hasn't taken you guys to court yet, some guy on Twitter. And this was a direct response to one of Limited Rare's posts. And again, tongue-in-cheek, decided to make a t-shirt out of it. I don't think nearly as many people bought this t-shirt as the last one, but still an interesting note. On April 1st, 2022, what do you think happens? If you know Limited Rare, then you know they love fooling folks. The anticipation was high. Would there be more information about the hotly awaited DP? The joke was on the collectors. Limited Rare posted a link to buy Demon Pit, but I speculate that it was already sold out and it was just trying to drum up hype for the game that had already sold out. People commented within seconds saying that the listing was already sold out. I personally believe that there was never actually any copies for sale. If there were, it was probably just a small handful of copies. It seemed like just a huge troll for the community. Limited Rare Games posted, sold out, frowny face, retweet if you got one. Fast forward a little more to May 2022. There still wasn't really any news on Demon Pit, but people wanted to change their shipping address, so Limited Rare handled the situation with real class. Quote, if you need to make address change, email to lrgcrybabies@gmail with proof of purchase and no funny business. On May 13th, 2022, Limited Rare asked who likes free stuff. With their track record, who knows what they were referencing? If you go and find their Facebook, they mention that they're releasing a new game and that they don't want their fans on Twitter to find out about it. Just kind of trying to generate some hype for no reason, but there's more news. On June 1st, Limited Rare posted a picture of Demon Pit on PS4. And 7 days later, they showed off a gold variant cover of the game that's limited to 60 copies. And on June 16th, I got a notification that my copy of Demon Pit had shipped. And on June 22nd, my copy of Demon Pit actually did arrive. But the mystery does continue. There's an odd combination of characters on the back of the game case. What could it be? Maybe it's a special surprise that Limited Rare promised? If you use the secret string of numbers and letters and use an ROT47 cipher decoder, the message says, surprises inside. So people that actually wanted to open this game, which seems like it's not very many people because they think it's going to be collectible in sealed condition. If you open the game up on the disc, it says turn over to see surprised face. And then essentially they're trolling the community again. When you flip the disc over, you see your own face. But the interesting thing is, if you take a photo of yourself looking at the back of the disc and send it to Limited Rare, they had a small contest where they choose some amount of people, which they never stated, and they entered them into some supposed contest that they have to do further things. Okay, so every time I stop recording this video because I think things have died down, things pick back up. So the second Limited Rare account basically keeps hyping up some kind of free video game. Like I mentioned, they sold a t-shirt that says FOMO-gasm, which is the fear of missing out, gasm. They keep doing polls and posting memes and GIFs, and then eventually they post something about a drop. And so basically they say that on August 3rd there's going to be instructions and an announcement from Elmer, who's the older guy with the beard, who's kind of the mascot of Limited Rare.
Hi, I'm Elmer, and I'm here to talk to you about Limited Rare Bears. Yeah, that's right, the FOMO scientists at Limited Rare Games, or as I like to call them, FOMOologists, have created 100 Limited Rare Bears. These bears will not only be a fine art profile picture that you can show off to your nerd friends, will also be your ticket to get our next super rare limited run physical game absolutely free. Yeah, that's right, free. But wait, there's more. In our unique first-of-a-kind FOMO-powered economy, you will be able to put your bear to work in our FOMO sweatshop, where they will be paid minimum wages that you will then be able to spend on incredible items in our soon-to-be-open FOMOporium. Stocked with extremely high-demand, rare, and fantastical items, the FOMOporium is where all your FOMO dreams will come true and or be crushed. This is all made possible by the miracle of FOMOnomics. Now for the disclaimer. By adopting a Limited Rare Bear, you are agreeing to participate in long-term extreme FOMO experimentation. Now, extreme FOMO experimentation isn't for everyone, so if you're a whiny crybaby, then Limited Rare Bears may not be for you. Well, that's all for me for now. You all have a lovely day and take care.
And then on August 6th, they post, here's a thread to warn you about what you need to take part in the greatest FOMology experiment in history, Thursday-ish. And it says, first disclaimer, if you're an internet crybaby, then unfollow and go away. If you're still here, download Phantom Wallet, which is a non-fungible token custodial wallet for the blockchain Solana. And it's saying that they recommend that you do it on desktop rather than the phone version. And basically you need to get Solana, which is a cryptocurrency similar to Ethereum. And they kind of hint here that the drop might be 1 Solana, but they don't know how much you might need extra. Price might go up or down, but they're kind of promising it's going to be 1 Solana. And they're also basically straight out saying you should buy more than one so you can flip them. They link to a video telling you how to mint Solana NFTs. And then basically people respond, people get really upset. There's a weird interaction between NFTs and gamers. Most gamers are very against it, even though the idea behind NFTs is that it would give digital ownership to gamers who buy a lot of digital content. And basically they show that if you mint one of these limited rare bears, you will get an opportunity to get the golden version of DP if you comment on a specific thread. And then a lot of GIFs kind of mocking people who are hating on them. They released a website. They changed the logo to a limited rare bear, I would assume. It's kind of black and white logo. And then they kind of just continue to meme on the community. So basically, the minting of the NFT Rare Bears collection happens, and they sell 555 limited rare bears, even though I think it was supposed to be around 1,000. There wasn't as much interest as they were thinking. Here's an example of some of them that are listed on the market. Once the sale went through, Limited Rare Games suggested that everyone who has a limited rare bear NFT follow the Limited Rare Bear Twitter account. On this account, they kind of spread more fear of missing out tactics, but they also talk about that you can basically stake your limited rare bears and they'll earn this kind of fake currency FOMO, and they don't know exactly what it's going to be used for, but probably something like free t-shirts and maybe free games or variants in the future. The interesting thing about everything is that if you go to the research tab, you can see that there's actually 421 limited rare bears that are staked, and if you open this up, this is actually a better representation of the collection. You can see the diversity of the different limited rare bears. Some are poking fun at memes, some are just like different colorations of the same bear. There's a pretty big diversity. I'm actually a little bit impressed on how diverse the collection is, really. And so that's it so far for limited rare bears. and Limited Rare Games. There haven't been any updates beside this on the Limited Rare Games Twitter account since pretty much this drop. So we're still waiting to see what the free game is and when it will be available. And that's where the story ends for now. But let's get back to the mystery that everyone wants to solve. So who are Limited Rare Games? There are a few theories out there who could be behind Limited Rare. Some are plausible, some are downright crazy, and some could be considered a conspiracy. Let's get down to business and dive into some of the suspects. The biggest suspect would be Limited Run Games. I think many people think that Limited Run Games are behind it because there are a lot of people that dislike the company and now they're making fun of their customers and they have bad PR, etc. And the matter of fact is that the game company's name sounds very similar, the logo looks similar, and fans want to believe that Limited Run just trying to drive up those dang eBay prices. But why would a company purposely rip themselves off and risk brand reputation and act completely unprofessional? From a business standpoint, it just doesn't make sense that a company would go this far and risk legal action when they do things by the book normally. But this is probably why they've never claimed to be limited rare, and they were very careful to ship from a secondary location, which was Florence, South Carolina, and not North Carolina, where they usually ship from, to make sure that they reveal that they were not actually the company that was behind it. You can look at this tweet from Limited Run Josh from October 8th, 2018. Quote, "I'm so happy about our April Fool's prank. Everything is ready 6 months in advance, so I can start getting the dominoes in place now. No one is going to even register this as a prank until it's too late. This is going to be very enjoyable to watch." This very much sounds like Poop Slinger's release, and it's 6 months before its debut. And how about this tweet from Limited Run Doug responds to Josh's tweet? It's pretty amazing. Started as a silly idea that just grew into a bigger one. People are going to be got with this. So the second theory is it's maybe some crazed game collector or big fan of Limited Run Games that maybe got upset and decided to make their own company, mocking them to ruin their reputation. So what would happen if an individual were to make a physical game, sell some copies, increase interest in a game, create artificial inflation of its price, and then sell a surplus of the supply? People actually think that this is a reasonable possibility, but signs point to this not being the case, mostly because of money, networking, and the difficulty and coordination of pulling this all off together with limited resources. You have to produce about 1,000 copies of a game, you have to have relationships with Sony, etc. So I really don't think that this is a feasible possibility. Now, the third theory of the identity could be another limited edition game company. There's so many. In the beginning of the video, I stated about 20 different companies that have cropped up over the years. There are only so many people who are familiar enough with ordering video games from Sony and have enough money to upfront the cost of 1,000 plus games. And if you remember, Poop Slinger was not really a pre-order. There was a limited number of the games. So imagine you ordered, spent thousands of dollars, and then didn't sell them. Who has the capital of that or a loan they can use? Poop Slinger demonstrated that although it was a funny idea, the current business model wasn't profitable, but it did create a pretty big buzz and a marketing campaign in the game collecting space and the general gaming community. And if you're an indie game developer, you usually wouldn't allow a random person to publish your video game on physical media. But if you were a reputable game publisher, that's a whole different story. So now that brings up the final point that I want to make in this video is that maybe it's somehow another limited edition game company and Limited Run Games. Doing my due diligence and scouring the entire internet for opinions and evidence, my own prediction about who Limited Rare Games was changed over the course of this research. As I compiled all this information for you that I'm now presenting, something didn't add up. Why would a company make 3 different Twitter accounts? Sure, being funny and playing with customers' emotions is cool, but if you're a business, it just doesn't make sense to keep making multiple Twitter accounts. You're not going to be able to keep your fan base and your customers. Another thing is that felt really weird was Doug's tweet about receiving Poop Slinger. It did really feel like he was excited to show it off, but he pretended like he wasn't the brains behind it, and just in general seemed weird that if it was such a wacky thing, why he would have gone through with ordering the game if he thought it might not be real, unless he had some information about it. And lastly, and most importantly, why was Limited Rare's website abandoned for a few months and then relaunched? The owners had intentions of keeping it long term. Surely they would have paid for the domain for a few years at least. Could Limited Rare Games actually be 2 or more groups of individuals? Going back to the point of the Twitter accounts, LTD Rare Games and Limited Rare Game both have different feel The first Twitter account jokes around about not having time to ship games because of working at Walmart and having to increase the price of the game because they might have to go out of business. However, the jokes are fairly tame and controlled. After the game was sold, the Twitter comprised mostly of information about shipping the game, retweets of people receiving copies of the game, and 2 giveaways for extra copies. The limited rare game Twitter account seemed like a joke, but also somewhat professional. The account also featured many retweets from the developer of the game's Twitter account. The later Twitter account that was designed, ltdraregames, uses a completely different tone in their Twitter account. They play up memes, jokes, and can be outright mean to Twitter followers. The account seems like a follower of r/Wall Street Bets rather than a company trying to market limited games. They really played up the company being run by 2 Russian individuals, Ivan and Boris, who worked at Walmart and started their own game company. This information was also seen in the limited rare The Truth book. The second account, LTD, really expands on the limited rare lore through their tweets and the book, which is a fiction novel that's 123 pages and ends with the killing of 2 members of Limited Fun Games. The style and branding of the second account revolves around black backgrounds with basic black text and sometimes uses typos or improper grammar, which honestly doesn't even seem like really a cool thing to do, even as a joke. And also the only account that they follow on Twitter is the FBI. I mean, come on. On August 3rd, 2021, Josh tweeted, quote, "Today I learned a competitor wrote a fan fiction purchasable on Amazon where Douglas and I get murdered in the end." So this is also the commentary showing that they're not responsible for this part of limited rare games, but there's still some evidence that they might be responsible for the rest of it. The current bio of the LTD Rare Games Twitter account is industry disruptors that indiscriminately use the science of FOMOology to create unforgettable purchasing experience, otherwise known as FOMOgasms. For those unfamiliar, FOMO or FOMO stands for the fear of missing out. Basically, this current state of consumerism and capitalism in our world at present. The newer account tries to use viral marketing tactics to get buyers, while the original account took a much more minimal approach to marketing and just wanted to appeal to hardcore fans that even found the website, the Twitter account to begin with, basically calling off the fans of limited run games that they had already hooked into their products. So what proof do we have that the current limited rare games is run by different people? The biggest evidence that we have is a Twitter thread between Limited Run Josh and Hard Copy Games. Limited Run Games gets a lot of negative attention on their Twitter and other social media from disgruntled customers and observers. It's not uncommon to have Josh respond publicly on Twitter to posts that upset him. Josh tweeted on August 3rd, 2021, "I'm fairly certain that the current limited rare games are actually hard copy games, using this joke to kind of low-key grab people's wallets because they know they can. They're not really just some random independent operation." The role-play-like nature of the second Twitter account is in line with hard copy games, as they also publish fiction novels.
There's a new game at the arcade. It's killer. Elusive. From David Irons, the writer of Nightwaves, the real terror begins. Available now.
Josh also points out that hard copy games have released games for Diggerati before they published Tamashii, and also Demon Pit. Hard Copy Games has also printed fiction books before and is the only limited game edition company that has done so at this point in time. So now the last piece of this is, can we even tell that Limited Run Games was the original Limited Rare Games? There are a few strong facts that point me to the fact that Limited Run were the ones who released Poop Slinger. The first and strongest case is definitely Josh's tweet from October 2018. Poop Slinger's Limited Rare logo is just a slight modification of the Limited Run logo, and it's placed in the exact location of their other releases. Someone could definitely change the logo, but I do feel like it adds to the case as well, considering the owners could have ripped off any limited edition game company logo or even created a brand new logo. But because they kept it similar, kind of also just increases brand reputation for them. The second piece of evidence is that what other company could sit on extra unsold copies of Poop Slinger for an April Fool's joke? Let's say each game costs the company even $25, you're upfronting at least $25,000, and if you only sell 82 copies, you basically just burn $20,000. It's really important that Poop Slinger was not a pre-order, that the games were on hand and shipped out immediately. The extra games are still out there in a warehouse or storage locker, likely belonging to Limited Run. When the first Twitter account lost their account, they made a backup account and basically posted a picture proving that they were the original owners and that the games are still sealed in boxes. And this Twitter account was at limited_rare. Proof the other company is a fake. Stop giving them money, please. They're capitalizing on my failure, and it has upset me. You can see more than 3 long boxes full of Poop Slinger. I also think another fact to consider is that both Josh and Doug have made one or more tweets kind of hinting that Poop Slinger was a cool idea or well executed, which to me is them kind of trying to take credit for it without having liability for that release. The last piece of kind of pseudo evidence that I gathered over the course of this research was that one takeaway from Poop Slinger was that people do indeed buy into hype and joke game releases. In 2021, Limited Run sold a physical copy of Green Lava Studios Volume 1, which contains a collection of some very odd games, and the follow-up Volume 2 was released in 2022. The predicted second Limited Rare Games Twitter account also did release Tamashii on October 2020, which really did seem to frustrate Limited Run, which could be why they then followed up in 2021 with the Green Lava Studios April Fool's games. The craziest part of this story is, as I was in the middle of editing, the original Limited Rare Games account made a tweet, which I think confirms that this third case and the identity behind both parties that use the moniker Limited Rare is true. On June 14th, the first Limited Rare Games account tweeted that the second Limited Rare Games is hard copy games and that they are imposters and should not be supported. Quote, please know the other game company is an imposter and is hard copy games. Please do not buy from them. This account previously stated that they were not responsible for Tamashii, and that recent post also confirms that they did not do Demon Pit either. Therefore, they just released the game Poop Slinger. Let's take one final look at the evidence. Limited Run Josh presented publicly that he was very certain that the second Limited Rare Games was hard copy games, and he supported competition within the limited edition game industry. This is a normal business-like response. He wouldn't want to publicly say that he doesn't like competing companies as it looks bad for Limited Run games, but given Josh's track record with letting his emotions drive his social media interactions, it's likely that this tweet from the first Limited Rare Games was Josh expressing his frustration with this new Limited Rare that continues to carry on the legacy that they created and also brings some negative publicity for Limited Run games, which most people think these two companies are the same company. What I think is also interesting is that this tweet is basically telling people not to buy from hard copy games. They took advantage of an opportunity and expanded upon it. They are selling a legitimate product, as both games that they had pre-orders for did ship successfully, and it's kind of shady that if Limited Run Games was behind this tweet from the original Limited Rare Games account, would basically be saying that they support competition on their public Twitters where people can see who they are, and then try to pull business away from another company under the disguise of being this other weird pseudo-fake company. And I think the whole thing is very unprofessional, and I'll kind of keep it to that and let you all be the judge of what you think's really going on. So that's the story of Limited Rare Games. It's a roller coaster of mystery, memes, and mistakes. I hope you were all entertained as much as I was researching all this. Thanks everyone for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like on the video. I hope you all enjoyed watching this video as much as I did researching this topic and putting everything all together and just absorbing information and trying to make sense of it all. I know it was kind of wacky and there was a lot of different Twitter accounts and different people on social media. If you like this type of video, please let me know in the comments. I'm going to be doing a lot more long-form content, looking at in-depth analysis of different game developers and other mysteries of gaming. If there's any other information you have about this story that you want to point out, please leave it in the comments. I think it's going to contribute. Let's get a good discussion going. I know there'll probably be people on both sides, but I think it should be fun. And until the next video, guys, peace out.